she and Ed, I think, are off visiting grandkids someplace.
Oh, yes. So wasn't that fabulous music that you were playing? Those were records from the 50s and 60s, right? Great.
I don't know anything about that. Bob never breaks the playlist here, ever. I always play exactly what they tell me. Okay, I might have fallen off. I might have erroneously played the wrong cut or two, but
those were great.
they're listening. Prairie Doc Radio in studio, and it gives me great pleasure to remind everyone about this gentleman sitting before me. I've known him for 20-some years. He's seen me naked and still likes me. And he will be the recipient of actually going to be inducted into the South Dakota Hall of Fame coming up here in just a couple of weeks, and I'm so very excited. It couldn't happen to a more deserving man. And Dr. Rick Holm,
Thank you.
physician, teacher, sailor, singer, husband, father, son,
I don't know.
snorer.
Runner.
We have to throw something in
Yeah.
to make him more human, right?
Welcome, everyone. This is Joni Holm. I'm helping out today in Joan Hogan's absence. We welcome you to Prairie Doc Radio, and we hope you will call us at 692-1430 with your questions. We do have a guest in studio. I'll let Rick introduce her.
Right. Today we have Dr. Teresa Binkley, who is a researcher at SDSU, and she and I are partners in crime in our project coming up, the For Me project, and so it's kind of exciting, and I thought it might be fun to talk about it today.
She also is the grandparents of like the two cutest kids ever.
Oh, and she's not going to disagree with you on that one.
And they live next door to us, and poor little Linus was crying today when he left, which is so unusual. But
Oh,
anyway, welcome, Teresa.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about the study that I'll be working on with Dr. Holm, and have also known both Joni and Rick for a long time, so it's fun to connect with old friends as well.
Yeah.
Good.
Your daughter and our oldest son were good friends.
Buddies back in the day, and
Buddies.
now we've got your son next door.
Yes.
People musically inclined and all that stuff.
Rick, I do have one question that came in online. Would you like to just do that before we
Sure,
start? Let's.
sure.
Okay. This is a call from a 65-year-old woman who walks 3 miles twice a week, and she often bikes as well. And she has shin splints. She wants to know what causes them and how she can treat them. And once they go away, how she can prevent them from coming back.
Right. I find that when I overdo it, if I'm pushing myself to go a little bit further, my muscles will go into spasm at night, for example. I think shin splints are in particular, if you look at those, they're the discomfort that you have in the front part of your lower leg. And those muscles are the ones that are responsible for bringing the toes and the feet back. They raise the feet as you swing forward so that your feet don't drag, and they prevent foot drop. And those particular muscles can go into spasm, and you can have tendonitis as well from overuse.
Yes, but this is, I think, more overuse than the spasm. I mean,
Right.
it's the exercise she's doing is excellent, but maybe she's just pushed a little quickly.
Right. But and here's the other thing that's happened in the last month as I prepared for the For Me project. I've realized something that's, I think, very important. We strengthen our muscles, and those muscles get stronger and thicken. The biceps of a muscle builder. You think of those strong muscles that build and thicken, right, and strengthen. The problem is that it's sort of like the heart muscle that builds and strengthens, and it's strong, but it's not strong if it can't dilate. If your heart can squeeze, that's great, but you've got to be able to open and let blood in for it to be able to squeeze blood out. And people who have very strong hearts can't dilate, they have diastolic dysfunction. They can go into heart failure and die. We need to be able to, for a muscle to move, it's got to be able to stretch. And I'd kind of poo-pooed that whole thought about stretching. I know that it made sense, and you don't want your muscles to go into spasm, and that's why you should stretch, right? But I hadn't realized that really the strength, until I started thinking about the heart muscle. And I was doing this as I'm preparing for the For Me research project, that we've got to stretch for those muscles to be in good shape, for them to be able to move. I mean, if you can't stretch out, then they don't have any movement to make. So what I would suggest, that long diatribe, and my wife rolls her eyes, that we need to try to stretch more. And I think if our caller could spend some time stretching, particularly the the muscles that dorsiflex the foot and the toes, that bring it up. And in other words, I think if you spend some time stretching the foot down, and I don't think we do a lot of that. We do a lot of stretching the back of the leg. We don't do a lot of stretching in the front of the leg. And so I would just look into stretching that part. And if it starts to hurt you, just stretch some more.
Ice or heat?
I don't know that I would say either one. I mean, ice, I always recommend ice for people who have immediately when they have an injury for about a 24-hour period of time. And then heat to help it heal. Heat helps healing. Ice will prevent the spasm.
So maybe some heat
but
at this point.
It slows the healing process. So I think heat is what I prefer.
Okay, I think we should take our first break, and we'll come back and get right into the 4M project or 4Me project and explain to people what we're talking about.
Clear.
Hi, welcome back to Prairie Doc Radio. We're going to talk about our For Me project, and Teresa and Rick explain this for people who don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what got you interested in doing this, because this is a big effort on your part to jump on board with the Rick Home go get them and let's change lifestyle idea.
Yeah, I'd have to say what got me interested was actually Rick was working with my supervisor, Bonnie Specker, Dr. Bonnie Specker, and they were meeting at Cook's Kitchen for breakfast occasionally. And what got me on board is that I got invited to breakfast at Cook's, and I wasn't going to pass that up. But as I learned more about it, it's a lot of the work that I've done over the years now, looking at the connections between muscles and bones, but in particular now some of the devices that we can use to measure muscle cross-sectional area. Now we're turning it toward muscle density, and that's the real key thing in this study, is not just how big a muscle is, but how many little muscle cells are packed in there. And so we know that with age we have something called sarcopenia. Sarco refers to muscles, and penia is the decrease in it. So sarcopenia is the lack of muscle or the loss of muscle, and we know that happens with aging because we have less growth hormones, and it also happens though when people become overweight or obese because the fat infiltrates into the muscle, so the muscle is really then less dense. So these were the populations that are quite popular in research right now, and so it was very exciting to think we could maybe look into a study that could measure some of these things. And we're starting with the elderly population to see if we can do any activities by changing diet and exercise to increase that muscle density.
Joni, you go.
I'm curious about how you measure the density. I mean, obviously we measure size of things, but how do you see those the increased density that you're talking about?
Yeah, so we do have a device that is on our mobile unit that we use with the EA Martin program at SDSU, and it's called a peripheral CAT scanner. So it can scan an arm or a leg. And in this particular study, we'll be scanning that calf muscle. It'll do a cross-sectional view of that muscle, and besides just then being able to analyze that image for how big the muscle is, we can also analyze it for how much fat and muscle tissue are within that section, that cross-section, and that will then define the muscle density. So we will measure everyone before they start the program, and again after 12 weeks of being in the program to see if we can see any changes in that muscle density measurement.
Right, now, part of what we're going to do is one group will get walking. Now, if they're already walking, that's fine, we'll just increase the walking. The other group will have walking plus strengthening, and you're on the cutting edge of the literature on geriatric strengthening programs, and the first thing that you and Bonnie said is, oh, the Germans. You gotta meet these German guys. They are, and so into this, we've got into the Esslinger exercise program. Tell me a little bit about that exercise program.
Yes, well, first of all, I want to reiterate that both the walking and the exercises are very beneficial. So
Right.
both groups are very beneficial.
Right.
And with this study, we are doing it in a way that if you're put in the walking group, at the end of the 12 weeks, you'll also be given the strength and balance exercises
Right.
and information on how to do them properly. So it's not like one group is getting something that the other isn't. But with the Germans in particular, they do have an exercise program that has been used in geriatric populations up to people well into their 90s. And they have found that some of these simple exercises that you can do at home, that you don't need any specific equipment for, just doing them kind of probably not even daily, but several times a week can help improve the muscle function and that muscle density.
Right, as I've been trying to prepare for this and learning more about the 5 how do you say it?
Esslinger.
Esslinger.
And it's actually, the town is called Esslingen, Germany.
Esslingen.
Yeah.
So the Esslinger program says, okay, you add to endurance, which is the walking or the swimming or the biking, you add to it a stretching program, right, as we talked earlier. 2, a balance program. 3, a hopping sort of a program.
Weight bearing.
Huh?
Weight bearing.
Well, it's a hopping thing that makes bones stronger.
Right.
And then the strengthening will be upper strengthening, which is 4, and 5, lower strengthening. So it's a 5-part program of balance, stretching, hopping, and strengthening. And it's just really been kind of fun to see that, because I think the hopping part is one of the more interesting parts of it, because I think it's heads and shoulders above any bone strengthening pill, of course, and that's the goal. Comments? I can see you got something.
Yeah, and actually the one of the things the Germans stress is that it's not just the normal force that you'd put on bones, but that hopping actually helps increase the force on the muscle and the bone, and that's an integral part to improving bone and muscle function.
Right.
So,
So I'll give you one exercise that I think is kind of fun, and then we'll take this last break. And it's called the Tai Chi. It's one part of the Tai Chi. In fact, we'll do the break and then we'll come back to it.
Okay, thank you all for listening. This is Prairie Doc Radio. We will entertain questions at 692-1430, and we'll be right back. We have been talking about the For Me project, and we have Teresa Binkley here. And we'd like to step back a minute and talk about how do people get into the program. So let's go there.
sure. First of all, Dr. Holm wanted to start some programs like this, and being he was going to put the time and effort in, he decided, well, could we collect some data and actually get some evidence-based results from it. And that's sort of where I came in on the research end and developing a protocol. And with those protocols, you have to have some way to find the participants and recruit participants. And so we decided to look at people who attend the clinic, and Dr. Holm was integral in getting that all arranged. But so letters of invitation were actually sent to recruit participants for this study. And the age requirement was 70 years or older. And I believe there were a few other criteria that went into sending out the letters.
That they've been to the clinic
That they-
one time in the last year.
And,
This is the Avera Clinic.
Yeah, and so that was then the process that we wanted to define as the recruitment for the study, and it just revolves around that solid research-based design and how you're going to run the program. So that just related to the protocol we had to develop.
How many people will be in the study, or can be, and how many do we currently have?
So what we're thinking about is having 8 groups of 12. 2 will be on Monday morning, 2 in the afternoon, Tuesday morning, Tuesday in the afternoon. And those 8 groups of 12 constitute 96. Well, we thought we'd just recruit 100, squeeze in an extra, and we'll see how many drop out. I presume that a percentage will drop out. I mean, that's understandable. We've got people from 70 to 90, 5 already in the group. And we are at last count 85. So we're 15 short of our final, and I'm afraid we're going to run to the point where we'll have to turn people down, but because we've only just, it's been not even 2 weeks that we've had this thing going, and we're almost full.
So when people register for the program, then they'll be given information, and they'll start with their measurements, and then they will be placed in the groups and start the exercises, correct?
Right, and so the sign up is, the measurements will start 1st of September.
Actually, September 7th is the first
day.
study date that I've planned. I have been scheduling people. They've heard me on the phone. They've had their pen and pencil handy to take down the notes that I give them. And I actually have, I think, 78 people scheduled. So it's the week after Labor Day and then also the following week.
And we'll be starting the week later.
And then I believe the weekly sessions for the 12 weeks will start the week of September 19th.
Right.
So it is an intensive amount of measurements that we take at what we call the baseline, the first measurements. We're thinking it'll take about an hour, and people are very willing to come in so far.
Yeah.
And
We'll see how it goes.
so it's been really fun to visit with the people who are interested and explain the study to them and the steps that we'll be taking to get it going.
So it's not just exercise, though. We're going to spend half the time working on dietary education. And it's and I was looking at my 12-week lesson plans for the program, and they're it's going to be concentrating a lot on calorie counting. But we'll talk about carbohydrates and fat and proteins and different kinds of proteins. And we're just going to talk broad questions as a group of 12. You know, the thing that really excites me is that the best educators are going to be not me, who will be leading the sessions, but it will be the people who are participating, teaching each other.
Yeah, and they won't be put on any particular diet. It's more just a plan to bring focus and maybe thought to what you're eating.
Right. They'll pick their own diet.
You're right, right.
It's going to be their own diet.
So tell me what they come into the study with an idea that this is about exercise and diet. What will they leave the program with? What will the result, what can they take away?
Well, I think they'll learn the ideas of stretching and strengthening and an exercise program that goes along with the endurance exercises. It will teach them how to keep from falling as they get older.
And there are some just basic questionnaires we ask. Some are about perceived stress in your life and quality of life. So it's almost also looking at some of those things that relate to just being part of a group for a while, and does that change your attitude or your outlook? Does helping to focus on eating maybe a little healthier and doing exercise 5 times a week, does that help reduce some stress in your life? So there are some different quality measures like that we'll be looking at, as well as just the body measurements and things of that sort.
And not only will the researchers get the information, but I assume that the participants will as well.
Right. When we're done, all of the results will be given. The 5 Esslingers will be heartily educated to the people who were in the group that drew walking alone, so that everybody will get the advantage of those exercises. And I can't imagine that there's any downside of this. You know, we were initially trying to figure out who's going to be the control group. And a thought was just the control would be you get dietary education. You know, that's a good thing. And then the intervention group would be dietary and exercise. Well, we decided that's not fair. And so we're going to make it a good program for every single person in the For Me project.
I'll mention one other thing, just from the SDSU aspect of it. I have talked with the physical activity department and the nutrition department, trying to get students also involved in either helping to collect the data or working with the data after we get it. So I think that's a big bonus for those SDSU students who are interested in trying to find some sort of research project in their field that they would be interested in. So that's another bonus for working together with the clinic and the university. Yeah.
That's awesome. Very multidisciplinary when we talk about the scientists, the participants, the students that can be involved. And I always like to think about, and Bonnie Specker has talked a lot about that interconnectivity between the youth and the
older
seniors, so that's kind of a fun aspect as well.
Well, and I'm looking forward to, you know, this is an extension of my clinic. Instead of just 1-on-1, this is 12-on-1. And actually it's going to be 12-on-13. I mean, we're all going to be learning from this. And I'm just, you know, Medicare doesn't pay for this. This is a free program. We will certainly ask if anybody's having a problem and they want to be touch base with the doctor afterwards, and for that we'll do a minimal clinic charge. But for the rest of it, it's a free deal. But it shouldn't be. I think if Medicare was going to say we're going to spread our dollars better, this would be a really good way of doing it. And I'm trying also, this is a side effect of this, is to educate Medicare and CMS that this could be a program that they would encourage in the future.
All right. Well, I think we've got a lot of good information that we've spread to everyone. So if you have received that invitation and haven't made your call, do so. And if you have not received it, we'll hope that if there's another study, we'll get you involved.
You know, it's interesting, on call with the Prairie Doc. Bob wants to.
Oh, phone number.
Okay, well, we've got, 10 slots left.
Yes.
10 or 15 maybe. If you're a clinic patient,
Seven.
79551.
If you've
we'll-
received that letter, let's
Right.
keep it there.
And you need to realize that if you're not in that first group, you may not get in. So we're about done. We're about full up. So we want you to
It's very exciting.
give your call. Tomorrow night is On Call with the Prairie Doc. It's still a rerun, although we will be making our first show, recording our first show because we have students to work the cameras. And it's exciting. It's going to be the Manly Men show. We're going to talk about Manly Men. We should probably have Bob come.
I don't think so.
Well,
And
talking about men's health because
Men's health, as
we
prostate urology specialist will be there, and a family physician from Pier will be there. And then the week after, we'll be doing a cancer show that we also will be recording. So there's shows though going. Do you know what the show is tomorrow night recorded, Joni?
I do not.
I do not either. But there is a show tomorrow night. Please watch and enjoy.
7 o'clock public TV.
We've got probably 35 seconds left. Teresa, I want to tell you how much I appreciate working with you on this. It's been a joy and a very learning experience to fill out an IRB and take the courses you have to do to be a researcher and so on and so forth.
Right, he's getting there. We're getting him there.
Yeah,
But
it's kinda
I
tough with this.
appreciate working with you as well and being here today. And I wish our participants good luck with the study, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. Me too. And thank you, Joni, for filling in. You want to? Yep. This is it. We're done.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening to Prairie Doc Radio. We'll be back again next Wednesday. And Rick?
Stay healthy out there, people.
All right.